Hello, and welcome to the Diversity Matters podcast brought to you by HispanicPro, the Hispanic Professional Network. Join us as we have conversations with subject matter experts about the Latino workforce, the Hispanic market opportunity, entrepreneurship, and many more topics of interest to Latino professionals in the U.S. The Diversity Matters podcast comes to you from the great city of Chicago and markets across the United States that are making strides in creating diverse, equitable, and inclusive environments for Latinos to grow and prosper in their careers and businesses. My name is Alfonso Barrera, and I am your host for the Diversity Matters podcast. Let's begin. For today's episode of the Diversity Matters podcast, we are in Miami, Florida for our HispanicPro Summer Power of Networking event at the world-class SLS Hotel in the heart of Brickell. Before the event, we had the pleasure of speaking with Sonia Diaz, a communications professional, founder and president of Zaid Communications, and the national president of HPRA, the Hispanic Public Relations Association. We talk about the Miami Hispanic Market and what opportunities it can mean for the professional workforce and entrepreneurs looking to start or expand their business in Southern Florida, plus the upcoming HPRA Bravo Awards. Hello, this is Alfonso from HispanicPro, the Hispanic Professional Network, and we are in Miami, Florida for our upcoming The Power of Networking event, which is happening tonight at the SLS Brickell. And every time that I come to Miami, I always want to do a podcast with someone who I feel is someone that's a force in what they do and an authority in what they do. And it's a great pleasure to have Sonia Diaz here, who is a communications professional and also the national president of HPRA, which is the Hispanic Public Relations Association. So, Sonia, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited, number one, because we've been connected for about 10 years on LinkedIn. And, you know, all of us have so many virtual connections. And it's really only been in the past couple of years that we've had a lot of time to spend together and just to see how much you have grown HispanicPro. But not only that, at a time in the pandemic where a lot of people saw obstacles, you saw opportunities. And so the fact that you have expanded this way and now that you're in a place like Miami and you're bringing in the Hispanic professionals from the city is incredible to see. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And the pandemic, it forced me to kind of push outside of, because Chicago was on lockdown when I still needed to do what I do with HispanicPro, and Miami has been very welcoming in the sense of the companies that I've worked with here, and it was all just a matter of doing it. And I'm glad that I was able to do that when I think contracting and restricting would have been the natural choice, but me pushing into it and being out here. And it's crazy to think that it's 2 years now of doing events here in the Miami market.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we never had COVID here, right? Florida never had COVID, so we stayed open the entire time. It was a free-for-all, Wild West. So
absolutely.
it worked out for some people, right?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm one of those people, and so I'm very grateful for it. So, Sonia, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what is the function of your work?
Yeah, so I do, strategic communications. I work with, from Fortune 500 companies to nonprofits. I do what's called a lot of social impact, purpose-driven type of communications. So even on the brand side, I've never kind of been consumer based. I've been more focused on the CSR component, and I've been very lucky to be able to do that because it is what I wanted to do. When I decided that I wanted to do PR in college, it was the focus, and I just became very lucky that I had that opportunity. First at Edelman in Austin, and then at Person Marsteller here in Miami, and now I have my own firm. So I'm really excited. I continue to do that, and then I get to do that with HPRA as well. That experience has naturally transitioned into my role as president with HPRA, and it's such a wonderful time because of the conversations that we're having and the way that the Hispanic population is growing in the United States. We're no longer a segment. We are the fabric of this country, and so it's more important than ever that at an organization like HPRA, educate the general market about the opportunities that exist and how to better engage with us at the community level and as professionals, and in terms of talent recruitment and retainment, but also helping to develop Hispanic professionals and introducing communications as a career choice, which I think is an amazing career choice.
It definitely is, and and especially if your focus is on bilingual, multicultural, or the Latin American market, I feel like Miami is the place to be. Like, there's no other market to be than here, and especially because since we've been producing the networking events here in Miami, one of the things that has been, eye-opening and shocking, and at the same time, makes me proud is that how the Spanish language is openly spoke here, and I think that's something that's incredible. And everywhere you go, everyone's speaking Spanish, and even if it's someone that's not a native speaker, they understand it, and I think that's terrific and great. And not only that, it also is evidence of our culture is not diminishing. If anything, it's growing, it's exploding, not only in Miami, but in other parts of the country. So this is I feel, a vibrant city and very pro-business. So how would you describe Miami when it comes to that, being pro-business? Or if someone wants to open a business here in Miami, or wants to expand their business here into this market?
So I want to go back to something that you said, because you're like, it feels like Miami is like the footprint of what Latinos should be. And I actually always refer to Miami as the redheaded stepchild, because it doesn't fully belong to Latin America, although it feels like it does. And it does not fully belong to U.S. Hispanics. So being Latino, even though, we use these terms interchangeably depending on the region. There's won't go down that rabbit hole, but I would definitely say that probably the biggest difference between being Latino or Latin American versus being U.S. Hispanic is that there is, I think, a level of assimilation or a level of acculturation that occurs in the U.S. Hispanic market that does not quite exist in Miami yet. So, coming to Miami can be a huge culture shock. And I think I thought a lot like you do, because I'm originally from Texas. And so I moved here thinking yeah, but, I'm Latina, I'm Dominican, I'm Caribbean Latina. I'm not Texas Latina. I need to go to Miami because that's more my vibe. And then I got here and I was I had culture shock. I was I'm kind of pretty American, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah, so, and that's the story of being bicultural in this country. And I think just even being a Dominican growing up in Texas, which is very rare, I always say, my story is unique, but there are 65 million Hispanics in the United States, and each one of them, that means 65 million different stories. And I think the opportunity that we have here in Miami is that the population is growing younger. Before we had what we used to call brain drain. So a lot of kids would go off to college and just would never come back, so we couldn't retain talent. Now we're seeing a lot of the younger professionals return, and so we're building kind of that environment. And so you're starting to see that shift. And I think the greatest opportunity is that because Miami is an immigrant city, it's very it caters very much to small business owners. So Miami-Dade County, 98% of our businesses are small business, and that's defined by 100 employees or less, and 81% are 10 employees or less. So it's definitely a very fertile ground to be able to, kick off. I think it has the same challenges that any city would have, which is you got to get into the community, you got to figure out where your customers are, or, where your network is. But it definitely supports entrepreneurship, and I think that we've been seeing that in the past few years.
Great, and I think you're right. I see that everywhere, and I think it's a great destination for people who want to expand their business, have a footprint, like you mentioned, here in Miami, or to start a business here. I think also that there are a lot of resources, and also it's a welcoming environment, I think, and especially if you have a Latin twist to what you want to do, I think that it's definitely a great market. So, besides entrepreneurs, what would make Miami a great destination for Latino professionals who are probably pivoting in their career, or who want to come and work and live here?
Well, I mean, again, everybody has a different story and a different motivation. I think that if you're somebody that really wants to retain your language, this is a great place to come, because imagine I grew up in a household where my dad was like learning Spanish was a requirement, not an option. And I studied it all the way through high school. I got my degree in Spanish and modern languages, actually. And I still don't think, even with all of that and spending my summers in DR, even with all of that, I just don't think that I would have retained my Spanish the same way if had I stayed back in Texas or had I gone to another market. I just wouldn't have been forced to use it. So if that's something that matters to you, this is a great place to be because you're infused. And I think that you have two opportunities, right? Because it's not just like the business that you can do northbound. You know, most of my business that I do is at the national level, and I really benefit from the fact that I have the major networks in my backyard.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
you can also do business southbound. So I think that you in the Caribbean. I mean, you can't like forget the Caribbean. You know, the kind of
Absolutely
work that
not.
you can do with Jamaica and the Bahamas and some of our Caribbean nations to the east. And and if you just really enjoy culture and having a lot of different nationalities around you, and if you enjoy year-round sun and the beach,
Sure,
I
yeah,
think it's a selling point.
absolutely, yeah. It's a selling point, and like you had mentioned, just the culture aspect that you find people from all different types of backgrounds here, and they're all, at least in my experience, has been that they're all hungry, or they're all ambitious, or they're all here with wanting to grow, personally, professionally, and I think that's I think that's one of the great things about maybe not perhaps being locked down because of the pandemic. That force never stopped. I mean, just coming over here to Brickell, I mean, it's incredible to see how many cranes are up and above. And Chicago used to be like that, 10 years ago, and that slowly started. It started to slow down, and hopefully, our economy, our city economy, pumps back up. But I feel that that Miami is welcoming of entrepreneurs, like you had mentioned. So let me ask you. Tell me more about HPRA.
So, the Hispanic PR Association was established 35 years ago or a little bit more in LA. And obviously it was to, help develop Hispanic professionals in the industry, and obviously increase their representation within the industry. A lot of progress has been made. As far as the organization, about 12 years ago or so, we went national and we started like having chapters pop up in some of the major markets. And then we established the Bravo Awards program, which is the only program in our industry that awards multicultural campaigns across the board from any industry. And we're really proud of that. And we get to see like some of the really amazing work that some of these teams are doing. I think that today, in the environment that we're in, fast forward, HPRA's mission is going to continue to be to, develop professionals, provide mentorship and guidance so that they can navigate the corporate world. I think that or just business, right? Just
Sure.
navigate business. I think that there's a misconception that you have to be Hispanic to be part of HPRA, but part of our goal is also to be able to educate general market about the importance of the Hispanic market, and that's obviously becoming more and more critical as we see the way that our traditions and our language are kind of like taking over, not at just a national level, at a global level. So when you see Bad
Absolutely.
Bunny being like the global superstar and
Absolutely.
Shakira having, the top debut song in Spanish language and Carol G being the first Latina to debut at the Billboard in Spanish, this isn't anything anymore that's like, it's beyond our borders, right? And we are a fabric of this nation. We are only going to continue to grow. And so HPRA is here to help, marketing and communications teams be able to, engage with their employees better and create that diverse workspace, whether you do multicultural work or not, and also be able to engage with their clients and the communities that they serve and diversify their vendor supply chain. And then last, we want to build a talent pipeline. So we established a scholarship a couple of years ago. It has grown exponentially. There's a lot of interest in that, and we're really proud of that. Our student chapters are the fastest growing of anything else that we're doing in the
Sure.
network, and there's clearly a hunger from these students to have access to this sort of thing and to feel like home, right? So
Absolutely.
right now that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, and I think that it's great that you serve as an advocacy group, like you had mentioned. Being there for Latino students who want to be in multicultural communications. I feel like there's not a lot of options or a lot of national organizations that encourage them to do that and to pursue that as a profession. So for you to be there as an advocacy group and beyond that, to also show them the brown faces that are making it happen, that are in their field, I think that's incredible. We need more of that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things I say that I love about communications is that it is an industry where you can take anything that you love and turn it into a career in communications. So if you love sports and you want to do, you want to work with the Heat, then you can do that in comms. You can do it in policy and technology, healthcare, whatever your interest is. You can turn it into a comms, and like, there's no bigger satisfaction than be able to wake up every morning to do a job for something that you're passionate about and something that you love. And unfortunately, we want to help a lot with the culture barriers that
Sure.
exist, right? Because as Latinos, our parents don't. I wanted to study music, and my parents were like, why? What are you going to do with that? We're taught to go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go be an accountant.
Yeah.
And sure, nobody's telling them, hey, you should get into PR.
Right.
So we tell our student chapters, no, go outside of the communication school, go to the business school, go to the School of Education, go to the Modern Language College, and find Latino students there and tell them, hey, have you thought about comms as a minor or comms as your major, to complement what you're doing, so that we can expose more and more of them, and then in that way be able to increase their participation in our industry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I understand that you have your national conference happening in October in Chicago.
Yeah.
So tell us more about it, because I want to invite and encourage Hispanic Pro members to attend. So why should they attend? What can they expect?
So it's not our conference. It's we don't have conferences yet, but I'm hoping that we're going to get up to that level, or at least being able to provide like a 1-day sort of professional development event, the day before the Bravo Awards. But basically, we've decided to take the Bravo Awards program, which is has been traditionally in New York City, and move it around. And so last year we had it in Austin, Texas, because the Texas chapter was our newest chapter, and we wanted to welcome people there. And this year we're bringing it to Chicago. Chicago has an incredible Hispanic community. As you know, every market in terms of its Hispanic demographic is completely different. So, Chicago in particular has generations of Latinos that have lived there that are professionals. We want to get them involved. And it's our Bravo Awards. That's when we look at the campaigns that have been done throughout the year, and we give out our awards. And then we have our honorees. We have a journalist of the year every year, and this year it's Alicia Menendez from MSNBC.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
We have our pioneer of the year is Antonio Tijerino, who is the CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. And then our DEI champion is Soon Mi Kim from Omnicom Group. So really excited. And I have a President's Award, but I haven't announced that yet.
Yeah.
So one more. But yeah, anybody that's in communications, you don't have to be shortlisted.
Right.
You don't have to be, you can get a ticket if you want to come. We welcome everybody, and we'd like the entire industry in Chicago to participate.
Absolutely. And the great thing about the Chicago market is that a lot of agencies are headquartered there.
Yeah.
In Chicago. So I mean, that's also that's great. And also, multinational companies
Yeah.
have a presence. If they're not headquartered there, they have an office there. So definitely a lot of good networking and meeting people in the communications industry, but also the decision makers who decide, when it comes to the message that gets sent out to the Latino market. Those influencers, those people, if you want to meet them, I feel like they're going to be
Yeah.
at your conference.
Our award program. And that we already have McDonald's that's coming on as a sponsor. We have Edelman has been supporting us for years. They're also going to be a sponsor, and many more to be announced. We're still in the submission process, so part of this is, till July 7th. If you are in comms, you're internal or agency, you have until July 7th to submit.
Awesome. And we are pushing that invitation to submit your kit or submit your application to be, perhaps you're one of the winners and you're recognized for the work that you do, because it is a distinct work, to think about it. How many Latin American countries are there? So to get it right, it's pretty hard to get any message right. But when it's communicated in Spanish, but there's so many variations of how we speak it and how we communicate and how we identify, that I think this is great. It's a great opportunity to showcase the work that a company or an agency is doing for on behalf of an agent of their client.
Yeah, and actually, I have to thank you because I know that you were also very supportive of our scholarship program.
Absolutely.
And we got 45 applicants this year. That's 4 times as many as we got in year one. And I'm sure a lot of that is thanks to your support.
Oh,
And so we will also give the scholarships to our scholar winners will be announced at the Bravo Awards too. And so it's a great thing because we have students participate, the students from the local universities and the local programs.
Sure.
And it's such an awesome opportunity for them to like see the great work that's being done, to meet executives, and just to kind of like feel the vibe. It's a really awesome event. It's very unique in that way.
Great. So everyone, you heard that. You got to be there. All the information is on the Hispanic Pro website. And Sonia, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thanks.
We really appreciate it, and we look forward to the networking event that we're having here tonight. And everyone, thank you so much for your continued support. Be well and be safe. Until next time.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. To learn more about Hispanic Pro and our resources, such as dates for upcoming Hispanic Pro in-person networking events across the United States, the Hispanic Pro Jobs Board, utilized by 250 plus companies dedicated to hiring diverse talent, upcoming podcast episodes, and more, please visit us at HispanicPro.com. If you found this podcast helpful, please share with your work colleagues and friends via the associated social share buttons. Until next time, cheers and be well.